Hello, and welcome to this audiobook called Richard Branson, A Whole New Era. This is not a biography on Richard Branson. This is a revealing look at a sign of the time that we now live in. And that sign is Richard Branson. I will get into details as we go further in our narrative. There are questions like, what is the measurement of success upon this earth, since everyone is in a rat race to become successful? Question number 2, what is the significance of a man being so elevated as to own his very own spacecraft? These questions and more I will address as we go further. However, for people who do not know who Richard Branson is, and for those who have no idea as to what his background is, I will highlight a few things before I get into the things that I'm going to say. Richard Branson is a British billionaire businessman who is worth £4.4 billion. He was born on the 18th of July 1950 in England. At the age of 16, he dropped out of school and began a youth culture magazine called Student. This magazine did very well for him. He then quickly began a mail order record shop, which quickly turned into a proper shop, and in the early 70s he established Virgin Records. The first artist to be signed by him was called Mike Oldfield, and his song Tubular Bells was an instant worldwide hit, putting Virgin Records as a strong contender in the music industry. In 1984, he launched Virgin Atlantic, that is the airlines. His most recent achievement is Virgin Galactica, a space tourism company. Notice these two, Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Galactica, because I will dwell on those two a bit later on as far as emphasizing what I'm going to say to you is concerned. He also owns a train company, a luxury game preserve, and in 1999 he was knighted for his contribution to business. He owns 3 private islands. His first island, Necker Island, was purchased from the profit he made after a very successful Janet Jackson album was launched in the 1980s. Today, the Virgin Group of companies runs more than 200 companies in more than 30 countries: South Africa, Nigeria, in many other countries elsewhere. That is the brief background I've given you about Richard Branson, because, as I said, he is a sign of the time that we're living in. You might have asked, but who is Richard Branson? What does he do? I've quickly answered you. This man is worth £4.4 billion, a billionaire businessman par excellence. Next up, I talked about an era. What is an era? Richard Branson, A Whole New Era. An era is a time frame that a particular people live in that particular moment. Most of the time, that era resembles something. It means something. Everything means something. That is the school of thought that we are walking through Of course, many people say things just happen, but everything means something. Let me give you a quick example of eras. In the 1930s, there was called the era of the Great Depression. So bad were things that people would carry money with wheelbarrows in order to buy a loaf of bread. And the Great Depression was most felt in America. In the 1940s, the era of the Second World War, a time of devastation and gloom. So bad was this war upon the Jews that 6 million of them were killed at the hands of one Adolf Hitler, until the Jews thought it best to go back to their homeland. And in 1948, Israel was formed as an official nation. That was the era of the Second World War. The 1950s was the era of the boom, or the big boom, a time when TV sets, the Chevy, became symbols of people who were successful, people who were middle class, upper middle class, and upwards. That was the era of success. Notice how the 50s and the 80s are very similar times of the boom, until many a product is called boom in remembrance of the boom of the 50s. The 1960s was the protest era. Musicians like John Lennon, Bob Dylan were quickly known as protest musicians, protesting against the Second